Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some huge, massive, colossal news relating to Tesla and how they, over the next 5 years, will print literally tens of billions of dollars of pure profit out of thin air, which will allow them to further accelerate their mission and become the world's most valuable and most profitable company of all time. This is not hyperbole. This is huge news. We are, of course, talking about EV tax credits. I'll run through the math, explain how I've come to this number and some of the implications. But in short, this is some of the most important news relating to Tesla of all time. I think the only more important news we'll ever hear is when Tesla finally announces they're about to deploy their autonomous, fully self-driving software to the entire fleet and human drivers will no longer be required. This is right up there with the solving of autonomy. I'm not messing around with you guys. This is huge news. So let's get into the video. And by the way, since I know there's a lot of crypto lovers watching and people who like free stuff, it's your lucky day. For a limited time, you can get up to $250 in free crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, where you can use cryptocurrency to earn interest, borrow cash, and buy or sell crypto. If you want your free crypto, use the link in the description. It also helps out the channel. And if you'd like up to 2 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $250 just for opening an account. And if you fund your account with $100, you'll get a second free stock valued up to $1,600. Unless you don't like free stocks, that is. And if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake, also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it. Here we are over on the Reuters website. US Senate panel advances EV tax credit of up to $12,500. And just to be clear, there's still a few more hurdles in the way of this being actually approved and implemented, but I suspect the final product, the final EV incentive, is going to be very similar, if not identical to what we're learning about today. So let's get into it. The US Senate Finance Committee advanced legislation on Wednesday that would boost electric vehicle tax credits to as much as $12,500 for EVs that are assembled by union workers in the United States. The bill would limit tax credits to vehicles with a retail price below $80,000. Basically, almost every Tesla model, even the entry-level Model S would qualify for this. Certainly not the fully decked-out performance versions of the X and S, but the Model 3, the Model Y, Tesla's future $25,000 vehicle, plus entry-level Model S, and of course, the Cybertruck, all qualifying. This is really great news for Tesla. The current maximum tax credit is $7,500 with no maximum price and currently phases out for individual automakers once they hit 200,000 total EVs sold. Both General Motors and Tesla have hit the cap and currently do not qualify for the $7,500 tax credit. The Clean Energy for America bill, which advanced on a 14-14 tie vote, would eliminate the existing EV cap, while the credit would phase out over 3 years once 50% of US passenger vehicle sales were EVs. Now, I have to jump in here. This is enormous. Consider this for a moment. There's no limitation on how many vehicles each automaker can sell, and this only begins to phase out over 3 years once total EV sales make up more than 50% of new US passenger vehicles. Who's going to be the company making most of these EVs while everyone else scrambles to catch up? That would be Tesla. In other words, the slower every other automaker is to ramp up their EV production, the more vehicles Tesla will be able to sell and take advantage of this credit. This is hugely important news for Tesla. It gives them an even greater advantage than they already have. While all these bumbling clowns like Ford and GM and other automakers are scrambling to try and get their EV production up, Tesla's going to continue to drive down their costs, build new factories, and absolutely dominate, taking an even larger share of the existing EV market in the US. The EV proposal, led by Senator Debbie Stabenow, a Michigan Democrat, would boost the $7,500 tax credit by $2,500 for vehicles assembled in the United States and another $2,500 for cars at facilities whose production workers are members of or represented by a labor union. We'll talk more about this in a moment. Tesla does not qualify for this, so the maximum incentive available for Tesla vehicles under this proposal, $10,000 per vehicle. That would mean smaller credits to automakers such as Tesla, Volkswagen, and others who do not have US union workers and companies building EVs outside the United States. Now, a quick but important aside. Many of you may have heard recently Joe Biden made a visit to Ford and had a spontaneous test drive. Yeah, get fucked, as if that was spontaneous. You don't let a senile old man get behind the wheel of one of your prototypes spontaneously. They had a pre-arranged demonstration where Biden jumped in the Ford F-150 Lightning and said, "Oh, this sucker's quick." Now, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But during this entire speech and the whole spiel relating to this visit to Ford, there was not a single mention of Tesla. Why? My suspicion is because they are not a member of the UAW. Therefore, please don't give them any airtime. As I tweeted in relation to this exact appearance, how did Biden speak with the UAW's cock buried deep in his throat? And just to be clear, man or woman, there's absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, there's a whole lot right about having a cock buried deep in your throat when it's appropriate. The point that I'm making is that the UAW is able to, in some situations, have their way with certain members of both US political parties due to their donations, aka bribes. The entire political system, especially in the United States, is extremely corrupt. There's a huge number of vested interests. Political donations are not political donations, they are political bribes. And this is exactly what we're seeing from the corrupt UAW. Now, I'm not here to make this political or partisan or shit on Biden just for the sake of it, but there's clear incentives happening behind the scenes which relate to these EV incentives. And speaking of corruption and the UAW, ex-UAW President Williams sentenced to 21 months in union corruption probe. Williams, 67, of Corona, California, is the highest-ranking UAW official sentenced during a 4-year-old prosecution that has secured 15 convictions, one more time, 15 convictions, and revealed UAW leaders and auto executives broke labor laws, stole union funds, and received bribes and kickbacks. So just want to point something out. In short, UAW really doesn't smell good. So internally, the union clearly has an issue with corruption. It's not just one conviction here. We're talking about 15. But of course, there's absolutely no correlation whatsoever with the donations UAW makes to particular political parties and then suddenly having this extra incentive for union-based companies under this new plan, is there? Total coincidence, of course. So, back to the topic at hand. The EV incentives are estimated to cost $31.6 billion through 2031, according to a congressional estimate. The bill must still be approved by the full Senate and US House of Representatives. The bill also includes a 30% tax credit for manufacturers to retool or build new facilities to produce advanced energy technologies, including batteries, and new incentives to purchase commercial electric vehicles. Now, some of this doesn't apply to Tesla. They don't need to retool, but look at this. Build new facilities to produce advanced energy technologies, including batteries. So in other words, Tesla, already one of the most, in fact, probably the most capital efficient companies on the goddamn planet, is now going to be able to build new battery facilities and potentially others as well at a 30% discount to their already staggeringly low costs. Dude, this is crazy. Alright, enough of this article. Let's get to the meat and bones of this video, the $42 billion bonanza. So here's the deal. If Tesla has a $10,000 credit applied to the purchase of their vehicles, meaning they're $10,000 cheaper for customers to purchase than they are today, Tesla will have to raise prices. Now, before you embarrass yourself in the comments and say, Stephen, that goes against their mission of accelerating the world's transition to EVs, let me explain something. Tesla already has way more demand than they can currently meet. That's why they continue to raise prices on their vehicles today. One more time. Tesla already has more demand than they can meet, despite the fact that they're ramping up production as fast as possible. Simultaneous to this, they continue to drive their actual costs down on each product, meaning they could, in theory, keep cutting prices and maintain margins. You know, octovalve, heat pump, gigapress, blah, 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 blah. You've heard the whole spiel. If Tesla doesn't raise prices and their vehicles suddenly overnight become $10,000 cheaper for consumers to purchase, this will cause a disaster. What am I talking about? Ridiculous, unreasonable wait times. A customer orders a vehicle, they might have to wait a year or two to get delivery. Not acceptable. There's no other way around this. And by the way, I'm sure people at Tesla have already made this decision behind the scenes. They cannot possibly retain the same pricing on their vehicles if they're effectively $10,000 cheaper. My best estimate is that Tesla's going to have to meet the incentives somewhere in the middle, maybe increase prices on their vehicles approximately $5,000, meaning they're about $5,000 cheaper today. Again, this all comes down to demand. I know there's going to be a few people in the comments, oh, what are you talking about, dude? Seriously, think about it for a moment. If the price of a Tesla decreases in a linear fashion, the actual demand for the product grows exponentially. $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 cheaper doesn't mean there's a few extra people that can afford now. It is a huge number of new people that can afford the vehicle. Tesla already has way more demand than they can meet, and this is just going to cause effectively unlimited demand. So, unless Tesla are morons and want a huge number of pissed off customers who have to wait over a year to get a vehicle delivered, Tesla is going to have to raise the prices and find an equilibrium so that people can still purchase their vehicles but get them in a semi-reasonable time frame. Now, I do have to make some assumptions with the math here. My assumption is that Tesla will increase the prices of their vehicles by $5,000. Pure profit, remember, that goes straight to the bottom line because of these $10,000 tax incentives. In addition, I'm going to make a very aggressive assumption, which may or may not play out, but I'm going to err on the side of being cautious and assume that by 2026, in just 5 years' time, that's the point where half of all new EV sales in the United States are electric. In other words, that's when the incentive begins to phase out. Now, all we need to do is multiply that $5,000 additional profit by the number of vehicles that I personally think Tesla's going to sell in that period of time, and we're going to discover how many billions of dollars of pure profit Tesla is going to nab out of thin air, which is going to allow them to further their mission of accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy by building new factories and investing even more in R&D, driving their costs down, etc. So let's do the math. So here we are looking at my conservative estimates, my bear case estimates for Tesla production going out to 2031, and I've just selected 2 US factories. To be honest, I think there's going to be more US factories built, which means this number is going to be much higher. But again, let's just be very conservative in these estimates. I've got Tesla between Fremont and Austin producing about 8.5 million vehicles between now and 2026. Each of these vehicles are able to take advantage of that $10,000 EV incentive, and I'm assuming that on average Teslas increase their prices $5,000 above what they actually plan to, just to ensure that they don't have stupidly long wait times for customers ordering these vehicles. So, using my very conservative estimates of 8,400,000 vehicles produced over the next 5 years, each of these with a $5,000 additional profit straight to the bottom line, because again, Tesla's going to need to bump these prices up. And of course, I'm just doing this to illustrate a point. If you want to use your own numbers, go for your life. The math is quite simple here. Use your own estimates of production. Use your own estimates for how much Tesla would need to increase the vehicle price. But I'm going to use $5,000 increase on 8.4 million vehicles sold over the next 5 years. And we come up with a stunning $42 billion of pure profit straight to the bottom line. And again, I want to stress, this is an extremely conservative estimate. I'm assuming that the EV market in the US reaches 50% of all new vehicles sold in just 5 years' time. And I'm assuming Tesla doesn't build any additional factories in the US. They just ramp Fremont a little bit more and build out Austin. Clearly, Tesla, if this incentive is in place and they can build new facilities, some of them for batteries, etc., at 30% discount, if they can get the battery supply, the cell supply, they're going to build multiple new factories over the next 5 years just in the US. So this is a really conservative estimate. This is absurdly bullish for Tesla. I mean, ridiculous. Now, I think the slow stock market is going to take a little while for the implications of this to sink in. But guys, I wanted to point this out now. This is going to be absolutely enormous for Tesla. I mean, think about it, okay? The only way that I'm wrong is if Tesla somehow is able to ramp their production fast enough to meet this huge exponential increase in demand, in which case that's also ultra bullish because they'll be selling even more vehicles and have an even larger share of all new EVs sold in the US. In either case, it's a massive win-win. But if I'm being honest, I don't see any other way around this. Tesla will need to raise prices on their vehicles quite substantially just to ensure that they don't have astronomically long wait times in the US as a result of these EV tax credits. And let's just think about this for a moment. Let's say it takes longer than 5 years for half of the new vehicles sold in the US to become electric. Tesla's $25,000 EV is due in a year or two. If that's $10,000 off, it's going to be a $15,000 vehicle, a $15,000 Tesla in just a couple of years' time. Absurd. Maybe it's $5,000 more expensive. $20,000. I mean, dude, it is game f***ing over. Tesla's most important objective right now is to figure out how in the fuck can they ramp their production as fast as possible in the United States to take full advantage of this huge incentive. This is not hyperbole, guys. As I said at the start of this video, this is among the most important news relating to Tesla ever. If I was a betting man, I'd be willing to bet that it's going to take the stock market overall a long time, many months, if not longer, to actually fully let the implications of this sink in. I don't know what else to say, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is there anything I've overlooked? How do you think this is going to affect Tesla? Will they be able to solve the cell supply issue and ramp production up to absolutely insane levels? And most important of all, let me know in the comments below your estimate for the year that EVs in the United States make up more than 50% of all new vehicles sold. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you'd like up to $250 in free crypto bonuses with BlockFi, use the link in the description. You can also get 2 free stocks with WeBull and a free stock with Stake, also linked in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. PS, if you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.